when the truth is found to be.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Paul Town Hall Elliot Rogers Experience. Today we have a really great show. It'll blow your socks off. You might have a seizure from how great it is. Yeah, so speaking of seizures, a man by the name of Kurt Eichenwald, who writes for Newsweek, he's suing a Twitter user for attacking him over the internet via a highly dangerous weaponized GIF. Now this GIF is really dangerous and really demented series of flashing lights, and the GIF that this Twitter user sent it said, "You deserve a seizure," and nobody really deserves a seizure unless they're not nice people and they're bigots, or they maybe like downloaded child porn or whatever. But Kurt Eichenwald is a highly respected. He has lots of CIA connections. He writes for Newsweek, and so he was on his Twitter feed, and he suffers from epilepsy, and which is really weird considering that he has really good Jewish genetics, and Jewish people, they tend to not have any disorders mentally, like neurosis or physical ailments, or they're usually just like perfect pictures of health, which is so like. And if you look at Kurt Eichenwald, he's a very handsome man, very blue-eyed, chiseled jaw, that sort of stuff. So you think this is the picture of health, but apparently he has suffers from epilepsy and has strokes every once in a while when he gets triggered by certain images. And so he opened up his Twitter feed, and I shudder to think of how it must have hurt him, to open up his Twitter app or his computer screen. I hear he has some very nice monitors to view images, for work purposes. And so he opens up his Twitter feed, and he gets assaulted across the internet by a user by the name of Jew Goldstein, which is a bit weird because usually these sort of anti-Semitic hate attacks and hate gifts come from neo-Nazis, white supremacists, just like the white power structure that currently runs America. And it's strange to see a Jew attack another Jew. I'm not really sure what's going on in Mr. Goldstein's head. Maybe he had a bad experience with a rabbi, when he was being whatever rabbis do to little baby boys in the temple after they circumcise them. I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. It's an interesting thing to look up. So anyway, Kurt Eichenwald is now suing. He got Twitter to send over the IP details, and as Kurt Eichenwald said, the consequences will never be the same for sending GIFs on Twitter. Twitter was informed of Eichenwald's condition after Eichenwald's wife found him shaking and rolling around on the floor, and tweeted that he had a seizure from the dangerous GIF. It's just Eichenwald. I don't even know what to say. I'm just so distraught by just the pure hatred that somebody would have to do to send a GIF on Twitter to somebody. A sweet man like Eichenwald, who's 55 and probably has kids. I know he likes kids, from what I can tell. He's a real lover of kids. He loves kids so much he even did a story on child porn, apparently, allegedly. And during the story, he paid money for stuff relating to child porn and forgot to inform people at his job, so apparently he got raided by the FBI. But once he explained that it was for research purposes, they let him off, which is good, because it's good to, sometimes you gotta go into the belly of the beast and look at some material. I mean, I'm not sure if he did look at material or not. I don't want to get sued. But whatever happened, he was involved in that, and because the law saw that he's an upstanding, fine American who definitely didn't enjoy looking at it or buying it. Because if you look at him, he doesn't look like the type. He doesn't look like the type who would enjoy that sort of stuff. Definitely not. Eichenwald has informed that there's going to be huge consequences to the gift posting, and he's going to be tweeting legal updates about his assault. And he says, "I'm coming for you, you son of a bee." And I don't know, maybe it's kind of, disrespectful towards women, and we don't support that here in the Paul Town Hall Elliot Rodger experience. Because, women are to be cherished, not to be called female dogs. So Eichenwald should apologize for that, I think. So, yeah. Eichenwald told Newsweek, he said, "Somehow we have descended as a nation to the point where people think it's justified to cause severe harm, by sending gifts to someone simply because of politics or because they believe it's funny." And I don't know, people don't really like how people find violence or, violent gifts of flashing images funny. To me, like humor's never been about physical pain. That's why there's no shows, or that's why that one show, Jack A, never really took off, because people don't really find people suffering to be funny. Eichenwald told Newsweek, he said, "I have decided to pursue this case so that those online who believe they can do whatever they want, even inflict serious medical damage on others, via images, under the cloak of anonymity, will learn that they are not beyond the reach of the law. I fully intend to pursue this matter until this individual is arrested for this assault," which seems like a good way to make sure people don't send you more stuff, because the consequences are just too severe. "It was an intentional crime. I got injured and was laid up in bed for 24 hours because a guy didn't like my coverage on Trump." And that's really why, because he was just doing fair coverage on Trump, and the Trumpkins, they're just really violent. Speaking of violent Trumpkins, neo-Nazi Richard Spencer, his mother is facing financial ruin as a town where she lives in Montana turns against her, which is good. It should be no quarter for neo-Nazis or white supremacists like Richard Spencer or their families, because even though his mother has publicly stated that she doesn't agree with his racist views and that she's not political, some good people in the town of Whitefish, Montana, want her to prove it. And the way they want her to prove it is basically sell her business. That's a good way to prove it. A lovely Jewish woman by the name of what's her name? Tanya Gersh. She's a local realtor, wedding planner, and civil rights groups, and it's cool to see a Jewish person finally getting behind social causes, like getting women and mothers to sell their property that they invested lots of time in because of their son's unaffiliated views. That's really good to see. She says, Tanya Gersh says that Richard Spencer's mother is profiting off the people of the local community, all while having facilitated Richard's work spreading hate by letting him live and use her home address for his organization. Now, Sherry Spencer, who's Richard Spencer's mother, she rents out vacation residences, and that's kind of racist. Now, Sherry says she's not racist and she doesn't really care about politics, but like, you gotta wonder. They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and that's what's happened here. Where did Richard learn all his racist views? His views on lynching, his views on ethnic cleansing, and pro-genocide, worldwide genocide of all non-whites, and he learned that from his mother, obviously, because that's where people learn their politics, is from their mother. Even if their mother says she's not racist and she doesn't have the same views as her son. You really just gotta look at the son and say, yeah, this is from the mother. Now, one might say it's just a vacation residence that she's renting out to people, but who knows where all those profits are going? She's probably, printing out daily Stormer flyers, that sort of stuff, and leading white pride marches with all those funds, all those funds from innocent people who just want to, sleep in a nice hotel for some vacation or something. So yeah, so the Jewish organizers are, they're not causing any financial harm. They're just trying to get her to sell her property below value and like kick her out of the town. And that's very reasonable. When you grow up in a town, towns, they're for good people, not bad people. And bad people, even if they invested like years into, building up a business that provides value, they really have no place in towns. Especially when, yeah, Sherry Spencer, she says she has nothing to do with Richard Spencer at all. He's her son, but she says she doesn't believe what he believes. But for all we know, she could be writing all his speeches, Richard could just be her mouthpiece. It's not beyond the realm of possibilities. So, hopefully Sherry will be forced to sell her home. That'll be good. It'll really take a stand against white supremacy by kicking like a woman, a 55-year-old woman, out of her home and out of her town that she grew up in and started a business in. In other news, Russia's ambassador to Turkey was assassinated on Tuesday by a Turkish man in an art gallery. And boy, if looks could kill, well, they did. This assassin, the news here isn't that he killed the ambassador. The news here is that he was very spiffily dressed, and yeah, I'd rate it 10 out of 10. I'm actually looking into getting the suit he wore during the assassination because, man, he definitely was not involuntarily celibate. Now, the motives for the shooting are kind of vague. He shouted something like Allahu Akbar, that sort of stuff. But who knows what that kind of means? I'm not a scholar of Turkish. I have dabbled. I am a bit of a world traveler. I have gone to, Canada and countries in Europe, for world travels for a few weeks. So I'm pretty well versed in international politics and stuff, and political things all around the world, like geopolitical things I like to call it. But yeah, I'm not sure what Allahu Akbar means. I have heard it associated, with, various news events, trucks attacking crowds, that sort of stuff. Stuff combusting, planes being hijacked, that sort of stuff. But I'm not really sure there's any connection. It could just be, this guy he was really well dressed, and he saw the Russian guy who was decently dressed, but, compared to this really fine, dapper gentleman. And you really have to see the photographs. He's really well dressed. It definitely was not virgin rage that caused him to shoot the ambassador. I'm guessing he just kind of got offended at, compared to him, the Russian ambassador's fashion sense was not up to par. And when you're in an art gallery, you should be well dressed. And I get offended sometimes when the unwashed masses come into when I'm trying to enjoy a nice art exhibit, and it's understandable, that sort of stuff. Just have some good taste if you're going to view art. Art's meant to be seen by cultured people, world travelers like me, that sort of thing. People who are worth more than other people who are not as high class. Because that's really one thing that's startling, is this man was very high class, and it's very rare for shooters. So fashion probably played a role, class probably played a role. not really sure. Religion, probably not. Um, Ethnicity, probably not. Ethnicity never really plays a role in violent crimes. Yeah, those two things are unrelated. And yeah, the glasses that the Russian ambassador was wearing, well, they kind of look like from like the 90s. So don't wear that to an art gallery, please. And yeah, he was also overweight, so one more fatty down, which I don't know if that counts as like a hate crime. But fat people, yeah, don't go to an art gallery, please. Um, it's just kind of offensive. What else do we have here? Yeah, uh, Bill O'Reilly. He he caused some controversy on Tuesday night. By he during his show, during the talking points commentary. It's faux news, so fake talking points. Faux means fake. It's French. If you're not really like a world traveler, if you haven't been to like European countries like me for a few weeks, and you don't really get it, faux it's French and it means fake. And I like to call Fox News faux news because it shows that I know French, and it also shows that Fox News is not to be trusted. They're very right wing, very extremist. And so Bill O'Reilly was talking about the Electoral College, and the Electoral College is a really outmoded way of saying that coastal states shouldn't have all the power during elections. It should be evenly distributed across the country, so that way middle America, the people who don't really do anything, they just get married to their cousins and farm and unimportant stuff, they have a say in the country, which is just wrong. He basically said that the left wants to. This is his talking point here. He said the left wants to take power away from the white establishment, and they want a profound change in the way America is run. And normally I don't agree with Bill O'Reilly just because he's Catholic and he's white, and no good thing usually comes from those two, combination of those two things. But because God isn't real, but neither is race, and but he's right about this, and it's good. The left should take away power, and I think it's time for non-whites to run a country. They have such a good track record by taking over like countries that are kind of run, or areas that are run formerly by whites, and once blacks or Hispanics or non-whites in general get control, stuff gets better. You can look at like the track record of Cambodia or South Africa, or Chicago, California, those sort of things. They really hit their stride, and they really got diverse and enriched, and they're really doing well now because they're not run by whites. You can look at like some real social progress was made right when they took power away from whites. In other non-political news, the game Team Fortress 2, they revealed that the character Tracer or Taser or whatever, she's this very fit, very very empowered woman. She's actually a lesbian, and they also, on an unrelated note, they also revealed some backstory where she grew up in an abusive household, single mother household, and was abused by her uncle. That's totally unrelated though. And got into drugs in college, that sort of stuff. But anyway, so she's gay, and I think it's good. It's good finally, to have some fey representation in the media and in games, because it's really been all entertainment is just too straight and white. And I mean, she's still white. Maybe the next update of Team Fortress 2 will have her as a mulatto chick. That'll be good. I've sent a few emails to Gabe Newell about that. I'm gonna start a petition on change.org.gov. Yeah, so that's the Paul Town report for this week. Sorry for being a bit delayed. I was at a Antifa rally, and my internet was out, and I wasn't really able to record earlier. If you like this, you can head on over to patreon.com/paultown and support it, because I've been printing up some anti-racist flyers, putting them around, white areas, because I don't really feel, for whatever reason, I don't really feel safe going into diverse areas to do that sort of activism. I just like to, target cause that's where all the bigotry is, in the white areas. So I'm kind of being more brave by, instead of going to like Harlem, I like to go to like white areas, white or Jewish areas, same thing. But yeah, so that's that for the Paul Town Hall Elliot Rodger experience. You can also follow me on Twitter at PaulTown_. Yeah, don't forget to leave a comment, rate, subscribe, like, favorite, share, reblog, retweet, that sort of stuff.